The irony is gold hasn't done a gosh darn thing in 10, 11 years. Silver's gone down in the most bullish scenario in history because of what I call the gold cartel.
Well, Bill, until I came across you and Gatta, I was completely, in fact, it was you that started me off questioning the gold price, the silver price. And it always occurred to me it was an odd market, but I never, until you actually came out and brought attention to this, I think, and so many of us owe you a debt of gratitude, because we basically, I think many people just didn't put two and two together. And I think, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for that. But, you and Chris Powell at Gatta, you recently, and bringing it right to the front burner here, you recently, as all the work you've done, recently you got into, did you not, you brought this to the attention, well, I know you did, brought to the attention of market rigging, to the attention of Congressman Mooney, to basically tackle this elephant in the room, which another mainstream media or anyone wants to discuss. Can you tell me if there's been any progress, or any progress about that?
Well, if I recall, that's when I met you back in 2010, and you were one who alerted us about J.P. Morgan and what they were doing, and that's what really got me going on to J.P. Morgan being the kingpin. But we've been at it ever since then. We've been in lawsuits, and we've been down to Congress, and as you know, Bart Chilton was a special guy before he died at the CFTC, and to be honest with you, it's been the most frustrating thing I think I could have imagined. Since then, almost nothing. Matter of fact, people run away from us. I used to speak at all kinds of conferences. They don't want to talk to us anymore. It's like they're afraid of the truth and what's going on in the gold and silver markets. And the irony is gold hasn't done a gosh darn thing in 10, 11 years. Silver's gone down in the most bullish scenario in history because of what I call the gold cartel has set in motion, the constant pressure they put on the market. And it's astounding that nobody wants to talk about it. It's amazing, but nobody will go there. Nobody can really explain how could gold do so badly this past decade. I mean, right after a month after our conference, which in London in 2011, gold shot up above 1900, closed at 1868 that day, and here we are today at 1820. I mean, all these years later, with the most bullish fundamentals of all time, outside of the dollar going up, everything is, it's off the charts, folks. I would say gold should be double what it is now. That's how bad the influence has been, in my opinion, of what I call these cabal forces.
Yeah, and after you got me going, and I did, of course, the tremendous, as you say, you just mentioned the London 2011 Gatta Gold Rush, which was one of many you've done. As you say, that started to draw in a lot of people, and there was hundreds of people attended that, and of course even many thousands have watched it since. And I think that followed really what you did when you assisted. Obviously, I was having terrible trouble trying to get the evidence I dug up about the bullion banks, J.P. Morgan, Scotia-Mocatta, the actors there, rigging the price. And thanks to you and our dear departed friend Adrian Douglas, in March 2010, you managed somehow, I don't know how you did it, Bill, but maybe it's your old football gumph, I don't know what it was, but you just somehow got yourself into that meeting. And I'm sure they didn't want you there. And you actually managed to parachute in some major evidence about manipulation.
Interrupt here. You were the one who got us a lot of the stuff and got it to Adrian and got it to me. And Bart Chilton, who I'd met, was a good guy, and he gave me 5 minutes to make a presentation. And by the way, my presentation, it was on the internet, televised the entire time. The only thing cut out was my presentation, but I was able to ask a bunch of other questions. And, it was just, it was so easy for me to see after talking to you and so on. You had JP Morgan was a custodian for the silver ETF. And here they've been involved, and I can get into what I think has happened, taking the silver price down for the last 11 years.
Yeah, and wasn't it, this metals meeting that was called by Bart Chilton following the oil meeting about 2 months earlier, this was about bringing in the major players to answer questions. And as you just mentioned, JP Morgan, the largest player, if you only had to look at the OCC reports at the time, they were 98.9% of the gold market at this point, and they didn't turn up, and they left HSBC to answer the questions from you and Adrian. And of course, that was an important point, because much as we all knew that there was a high amount of paper leverage in the market, that interview with Adrian and yourself managed to eke out of Jeffrey Christian the 100-to-1 leverage. And I think that was a major issue, a major problem for him. And so I think that was one of the most critical things that came out of that meeting.
Yeah, well, just for your listeners and watchers, the 101 we're talking about is paper market positions to actual physical gold. And here it is, ironically enough, the most anti-gold guy in history, Jeff Christian, comes out and makes our point for us. As you just mentioned, it was 100-to-1. It could be a lot more than that. But the point is, there's a lot of gold that's being represented over and over again by various entities that's not there. Even, for example, in silver, Morgan Stanley was fined, I think, $4 million or something like that for charging money and interest to silver customers that they charged for the same silver they charged to all different customers. It was a total fraud.